Martha Ellis was tying her grandson's shoes when the woman who had abandoned him knocked on the door. For 5 years, Martha had packed his lunches, signed his school papers, prayed over his nightmares, and answered the question no child should ever have to ask. "Grandma, why didn't my mom want me?" Every time Noah asked, Martha felt something break inside her, and every time she gave him the same careful answer. She was lost, baby, but lost does not mean unloved. She said it because it was true, but she also said it because she was trying to convince herself. Then, on a rainy Thursday afternoon, while Noah sat on the living room floor building a small wooden train track, the doorbell rang. Martha opened the door and saw her daughter standing on the porch. Emily, thinner than Martha remembered, older in the eyes, holding a folder against her chest with trembling hands. For a moment, neither woman spoke. The rain fell behind Emily like a curtain. Then Emily whispered, "Mom, I need to see my son." Martha's hand tightened around the door. Noah's voice came from inside the house. "Grandma, who is it?" Emily heard him. Her face collapsed. Martha did not move, because the woman she had prayed would come home had finally come home, and Martha was terrified. Martha Ellis was 67 years old, a Christian woman, a retired school secretary, and a grandmother raising her grandson when she thought her season of raising children had ended. She had knee pain that got worse in the winter. She needed reading glasses for medicine labels. She moved slower than she used to. Before Noah came, she imagined her later years would be quiet. Church on Sundays, gardening in the mornings, tea on the porch, maybe a Bible study with the women from church. She had already raised Emily. She had already done school lunches, parent meetings, bedtime prayers, missing socks, stomach viruses, and late-night worries. But when Noah was 4 years old, everything changed. Emily had been unstable for years. There were broken relationships, addiction, missed appointments, emotional storms, and promises that sounded sincere, but rarely became steady. Then one evening, a neighbor called Martha and said Noah had been left with her for too long. Emily was gone. No one knew where. Martha drove across town with her heart pounding. When she arrived, Noah was sitting on a couch, holding a stuffed dinosaur, wearing pajamas that were too small. He looked up and said, "Grandma, am I going home?" Martha knelt in front of him and held his face in her hands. "Yes," she whispered. "You're coming home with me." She meant for it to be temporary, a few days, a few weeks, until Emily returned. But weeks became months. Months became years, and Martha became part of a world she never thought she would enter. Grandparents raising grandchildren, people who carry both the love of a grandparent and the weight of a parent. She did not regret taking Noah in, not once, but love did not make it easy. Noah grew in Martha's house. His shoes lined the hallway. His drawings covered the refrigerator. His small Bible sat beside his bed. He liked peanut butter sandwiches cut diagonally, hated peas, asked deep questions at inconvenient times, and prayed every night for Mommy to get better. Martha prayed too. At first, she prayed with tears, "Lord, bring my daughter home." Then, as the years passed, the prayer changed. "Lord, protect Noah." Then it changed again. "Lord, don't let Emily hurt him anymore." Martha did not notice when her prayers stopped sounding like hope and started sounding like defense. At church, people praised her. "What a blessing you are to that boy. You are doing what many people would not do. God sees your sacrifice." Martha smiled and said, "By His grace." But inside, she was tired. There were school forms that asked for mother's name, doctor appointments where people assumed she was Noah's parent, nights when Noah woke from dreams and cried, "Did I do something wrong?" And every time, Martha held him and said, "No, baby, none of this is your fault." But after Noah fell asleep, Martha would sit in the kitchen and fight anger so deep she was ashamed of it. She was angry at Emily for leaving, angry at the men who had entered and exited Emily's life, angry at addiction, angry at herself for not seeing the collapse sooner. Sometimes, if she was honest, She was even angry at God, not because he had given her Noah, but because she could not understand why Noah had to pay for Emily's brokenness. Then Emily came back, and the wound Martha had learned to live around suddenly opened again. Emily stood on the porch with rain dripping from her hair. Martha saw the folder in her hands. "What is that?" Emily swallowed. "Court papers." Martha's face hardened. "No, Mom, please. You don't get to disappear for 5 years and then show up with papers. I'm not asking to take him today." Martha almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. How generous. Emily flinched. "I know I don't deserve your trust." "You don't. I know I don't deserve to be called his mother yet." Martha's eyes burned. "Yet?" Emily lowered her head. "I'm asking for supervised visits. That's all. A chance to start rebuilding." Martha looked past her at the wet sidewalk. For years, she had imagined Emily returning. In Martha's mind, Emily always came back demanding, selfish, careless, unchanged. But this Emily was trembling. This Emily looked broken. This Emily did not smell like smoke or chaos. Her eyes were clear, but full of shame. "I've been sober 18 months, Emily said quietly. "I have a counselor. I'm working. I'm in a recovery group. Pastor Daniel knows. I didn't come straight here because I knew I had to prove I could stay before asking to see Noah." Martha hated that the words sounded responsible. She wanted Emily to be easier to reject. Then Noah appeared behind Martha. He looked at the woman on the porch. His eyes narrowed with confusion. "Grandma?" Emily pressed a hand to her mouth. "Noah," she whispered. Martha stepped in front of him, cruelly, instinctively, like a wall. And in that moment, Emily saw the truth. Martha had not only raised Noah, she had become the place where he felt safe. 2 days later, Martha met Emily at Pastor Daniel's office. Noah was not there. Martha insisted on that. Pastor Daniel was a calm man in his early 60s, with gentle eyes and a Bible that looked as if it had been opened more than displayed. Emily sat with her hands folded tightly. Martha sat upright, arms crossed, purse in her lap. Pastor Daniel began carefully. "This is not a conversation about rushing a child into confusion. Noah's safety matters. His emotional health matters. Wisdom matters." Martha nodded. Emily wiped her eyes. "I'm not here to erase what Mom did," Emily said. Martha looked at her sharply. Emily continued. "She was the mother Noah needed when I could not be one." The sentence disarmed the room. Martha had expected excuses. She had prepared for manipulation. She had imagined Emily saying, "He is my son." But Emily said something else. "She saved him from what I became." Martha looked away. Emily's voice trembled. "I know I was an absent mother. I know he may not want to see me. I know I have no right to demand love from a child I wounded. But I want to begin with truth. And if the answer is slow, I will move slow. If the answer is supervised, I will accept supervised. If it takes years, I will keep showing up." Martha's anger shifted. Not gone, not healed, but disturbed. Because repentance is harder to hate than arrogance. Pastor Daniel looked at Martha. "Sister, protection is good, but sometimes pain dresses itself in the clothing of protection." Martha's jaw tightened. "I am protecting Noah." "Yes," he said gently. "But ask the Lord to show you if you are also punishing Emily." Martha stood up too quickly. "I think we're done." But those words followed her home. Protection, punishment, and the line between them suddenly felt less clear. That night, Martha could not sleep. Noah had gone to bed after asking 3 times if the lady on the porch was really his mom. Martha had said yes. Then he asked, "Is she better?" Martha paused too long. "I don't know yet." "Can people get better?" The question pierced her. Martha wanted to say yes. She had preached yes to others. She had told women at church that God restores. She had prayed for prodigals by name. She had quoted Luke 15 and wept over the father running toward the son. But when the prodigal was her own daughter, standing at her own door, asking for access to the boy Martha had protected, restoration felt dangerous. "I hope so," she told Noah. After he slept, Martha entered his room to turn off the lamp. A folder had slipped from his backpack. Several drawings fell onto the floor. Martha knelt slowly and gathered them. One was of a house. one of a dinosaur, one of Martha and Noah baking cookies. Then she found another. 3 stick figures holding hands. One had gray hair and glasses. One had long brown hair. One was small between them. Underneath, in uneven child handwriting, Noah had written, "I don't want to choose." Martha sat on the floor. Her hand shook. The house became very quiet. She had been thinking like a grandmother in a custody battle. But Noah was not a prize. He was not proof that Martha had suffered well. He was not a reward for the years she stayed. He was a child who loved the grandmother who raised him, and still wondered about the mother who left. Martha pressed the drawing to her chest and cried. For the first time, she did not only cry for what Emily had done. She cried for what her own fear might do if she let it rule. The next morning, Martha searched for Noah's birth certificate in the old desk drawer. She needed copies for school, but behind a stack of old envelopes, she found a small prayer journal. Her prayer journal. She had not opened it in years. The cover was worn. The pages were filled with names, dates, scripture references, and tear-stained sentences. She flipped through it slowly. Then she saw Emily's name, 5 years earlier. The week Martha brought Noah home. Her own handwriting filled the page. "Lord, bring my daughter home. Restore her before it is too late. Break what is destroying her. Heal what I cannot reach. And if she ever comes back, make my heart soft enough to receive what I asked you for." Martha stopped breathing for a moment. She read it again and again. The prayer felt like a mirror held by God's mercy. She had asked him to bring Emily home. She had asked him to restore her daughter. She had asked for a heart soft enough to receive the answer. But when Emily came back, Martha almost shut the door. Not because wisdom required caution. Caution was right. Boundaries were right. Supervision was right. But the hardness in Martha was not only wisdom. Some of it was fear. Some of it was anger. Some of it was a secret belief that Emily should suffer longer before receiving mercy. Martha opened her Bible and turned to Luke 15. The father saw the son while he was still a long way off. He felt compassion. He ran. Martha whispered, "Lord, I am not ready to run." Then she cried, "But help me stop locking the gate." Martha's story is not simple. It should not be simple. Some wounds require wisdom. Some relationships require boundaries. Some trust must be rebuilt slowly with truth, time, accountability, and protection. Christian forgiveness is not the same as pretending nothing happened. It is not handing a child into unsafe arms. It is not erasing consequences. It is not forcing Noah to call Emily mom before his heart is ready. But forgiveness is also not allowing pain to become a permanent judge. Colossians 3:13 calls believers to forgive as the Lord forgave them. That does not make forgiveness easy. It makes it holy. Luke 15:20 shows a father moved with compassion when his lost son returns. But notice this. The son came home humbled. He did not come home demanding rights. He came home confessing. Emily was not asking to erase the past. She was asking for a chance to rebuild with truth. And James 1:5 says that if anyone lacks wisdom, they should ask God. Martha needed wisdom desperately. Wisdom to protect Noah without imprisoning him in her fear. Wisdom to forgive Emily without ignoring the damage. Wisdom to understand that restoration is not the same as rushing. And wisdom to see that maybe God was not taking her place in Noah's life. Maybe he was making room for healing at a larger table. This was the deeper battle. Not only a custody battle in a legal sense, but a spiritual battle between fear and faith, between protection and control, between memory and hope, between what Emily had done and what God might still redeem. The first supervised visit happened in a quiet room at the family counseling center. Martha arrived early with Noah. He wore his blue jacket and held the stuffed dinosaur he claimed he no longer needed. Martha knew better. Emily arrived 5 minutes early. She did not rush toward him. She stopped at the doorway and waited. Noah looked at her. Emily knelt slowly. "Hi, Noah." He gripped Martha's hand. "Hi." Emily's eyes filled. but she did not make him responsible for her tears. "I brought something," she said. She opened her bag and pulled out a small photo album. "Your grandma sent me pictures sometimes. I kept every one." Martha looked at her. Emily had kept them. Emily placed the album on the table and slid it forward. Noah sat cautiously. Martha sat a few feet away, holding the old prayer from her journal in her purse. Emily opened the album. There was Noah with missing front teeth. Noah in a Christmas sweater. Noah holding a school certificate. Noah asleep on the couch with the dinosaur. "I missed a lot," Emily said softly, "and I'm sorry." Noah did not answer. Emily nodded, as if accepting that silence was also an answer. "I won't ask you to pretend. I just want to start by telling the truth." Noah looked at Martha. "Can Grandma sit with us?" Martha's throat tightened. Emily said, "Of course." Noah reached for Martha's hand. Then, after a long moment, he reached for Emily's too, not with full trust, not with instant healing, just with the fragile courage of a child who did not want to choose. Martha sat between grief and grace. She looked at Emily's trembling hand, then at Noah's small fingers. And for the first time, she wondered if God was not asking her to lose Noah. Maybe he was asking her to love him without making him carry her fear. Nothing became easy after that day. Emily still had to prove herself, week after week, visit after visit, decision after decision. She attended counseling. She submitted to supervision. She accepted slow progress. She apologized without demanding immediate closeness. Some days, Noah wanted to see her. Some days, he did not. Martha learned not to push either direction. That became its own act of surrender. There were nights Martha still felt afraid. Nights when she checked on Noah twice. Nights when she prayed, "Lord, please do not let him be hurt again." But her prayers changed. She stopped praying only from fear. She began praying for wisdom. "Teach me to protect without controlling. Teach me to forgive without pretending. Teach me to love Noah without using him as proof of my sacrifice." One Sunday, Martha, Noah, and Emily sat in the same church row, not like a perfect family, not like a finished testimony, like three wounded people learning how to stand under grace without lying about the scars. During worship, Noah leaned against Martha. Then for a moment, he reached toward Emily. Emily took his hand gently, as if holding something holy and undeserved. Martha saw it, and it hurt, but it did not destroy her, because love was not leaving her. It was growing beyond the walls fear had built. Maybe you know Martha's story. Maybe you are raising a child you did not expect to raise. Maybe you are part of the painful world of grandparents raising grandchildren, carrying a burden no one fully sees. God sees you. He sees the lunches packed, the forms signed, the tears hidden, the prayers whispered when no one is awake. But he also sees when protection begins to harden into punishment. Maybe you are Emily. Maybe you cannot undo what your absence caused. But repentance is not proven by one emotional conversation. It is proven by humble consistency over time. And maybe you are Noah, caught between people you love, afraid that loving one means betraying another. The heart of this story is not that every family situation should move quickly. It should not. Safety matters. Wisdom matters. Time matters. But the heart of this story is that pain should not be allowed to become Lord. Forgiveness does not mean handing everything over without care. It means refusing to let yesterday's wound decide tomorrow's obedience. Martha once prayed for God to bring her daughter home. When he began answering, she discovered that Emily was not the only one who needed restoration. Her daughter needed mercy. Her grandson needed safety. And Martha needed a heart soft enough to trust God with both. If this story spoke to your heart, write the word wisdom in the comments. Let it be a simple prayer. Lord, give me wisdom to protect without fear, forgive without denial, and love without control. If this video helped you reflect, leave a like and subscribe for more Christian stories about faith, family, forgiveness, restoration, and biblical truth. And remember, Christian forgiveness does not erase wisdom. It simply refuses to let pain decide the future in God's place.